browsing through Facebook, I saw somebody that I went to college with, and he posted about that he liked 10's reissue. And as the resident Pearl Jam fan of my non-Pearl Jam fan friends on Facebook, I was compelled to respond, and we keep going at a conversation, and he said, I haven't listened to any Pearl Jam past Vitalogy. Now, this has been said throughout the history of Pearl Jam that a lot of people gave up during No Code. And my take on it is No Code is good music as it is, and I just don't understand why they would. Why? Because the grunge scene had changed. They evolved as musicians, but the music was still amazing. I don't understand why they went a different route.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I think, well, No Code is my favorite Pearl Jam album, hands down. So I have a hard time when people say they don't like it as well. It's perplexing to me. But I think a lot of that I get is from, it was a change in tone for them. So they got away from the hard driving, even on Vitalogy, you have really hard songs that the weightlifters and, like, I hate to call them meatheads, but those guys that can turned on the Pearl Jam album to get the drive to PR or whatever. You lost that with No Code. Like, you couldn't do that with Mankind, right?
I'm open.
Yeah, I'm open.
Oh, yeah, I'm getting these reps in. I'm open.
Yeah. I feel like they lost that part of the fan base, and like it just didn't, for a lot of people, it didn't fill back in.
Matt, your thoughts?
First of all, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm Open is my favorite song to crush some sets to. No, but I think people that like the earlier albums also like singles, which Pearl Jam kind of got away from. And although we like singles and we like all their singles or most of them, and we see that there are singles on these albums, I guess they weren't quote unquote radio-friendly singles, or they just weren't on the radio, or they had gotten away from doing music videos for a while, whatever it may be. Maybe people weren't just hearing them day to day, aside from the Alives, the Even Flows, that kind of stuff. Even Black was played constantly here on Long Island on some of the rock channels. You'd hear that 2-3 times a day. So I think we could agree that some of their singles that came out after those first 3 albums might even be better singles than those old ones, catchier, faster, harder, whatever it may be, but people weren't hearing them all the time. So, they might just go to what they're used to, the sound that they're used to. Pearl Jam definitely comes back to that sound a lot, but they go on and off because No Code was, or I should say Vitalogy was kind of that segue into No Code, music-wise, the way they changed how they recorded, the way they changed how they sounded, and I guess people started to notice that with Vitalogy. I sure did. I noticed a strange twist where I didn't like that album for a long time, and now I really appreciate the kind of offness of Vitalogy, and of course I love No Code now.
Well, it's funny because that same person I talked to who said he listened to No Code after I told him, he said it was like meeting a friend for the first time and being like, okay, I'm just starting to get to know you, and then kind of after a while realizing, okay, they're a good person, and then maybe you go on a trip or go to a ball game with them and they're like, oh, man, you're my buddy, you're my pal. So I just said present tense and off he goes, and I think he'll be good. So
I think that's a good way to put that. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. I hate to say it, but that's going to be the last time we talk about No Code today, because today's show, they played 0 No Code songs. So let's get to it.
And away we go.
You're listening to Live on 4 Legs, the live Pearl Jam podcast experience, featuring
Mr. Stone Gossard. Fucking camera in the truck. call me Al, you can call me Ed, you just fucking call me, why don't you?
Hello again, and welcome to Live on Four Legs podcast, or shall I say today, it's the Live on Six Legs podcast, featuring
Stephen Mayton.
Oh my goodness. He's finally here.
All the way from Berlin, Stephen Mayton.
All the way from West Hartford, Connecticut. 20-minute drive to get there. We've mentioned Steve a bunch of times in the first couple episodes, and now we grace him with your presence. And I'm sure you were very confused during the intro. Who is this non-Matt and Randy voice? I do not like change, dang it. So here's Steven. Steve, your first show. How do you feel?
Yeah, man, I'm so excited. I have been looking forward to this since you told me that you were going to be doing a podcast. You mentioned it on our way to the Boston show, and I as soon as you mentioned it, I secretly in the back of my mind said, God, I hope they have me on as a guest, but didn't want to, be that guy to like, hey, you should have me on. And later that day, you said that you did want to have me on, and I was very stoked, and I've been looking forward to it since. So I'm really excited to be here.
I mean, you're Matt's brother. Why wouldn't we? And like we live 20 minutes away.
Not only that, but you're kind of the reason why we both sort of got into Pearl Jam. I figured you thought you were a given to be a recurring character on the podcast.
Very nice, very nice.
This is the way I'm going to put it. He's our Pearl Jam sensei.
Yes.
Because everything that we've learned up until this point has been because of Steve. Steve and I went to PJ20 together, and that was a learning experience in itself. I thought that I was one hell of a Pearl Jam fan going to my 6th and 7th show, and it turns out that I learned so much from that weekend, and How to Hate Jeremy. I'm sure we'll get to that point.
Steve's bathroom break song.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we'll get to PJ20 and all that fun stuff at some point. But today we're going to do 2010 Berlin. But before we get to that, we have some kind of unfinished business with our last show with Amsterdam, which got a lot of good praise from you guys. I think it's a show that has a lot of high marks with the Pearl Jam fans, and the set list is highly regarded as one of the best of all time, especially that it was a fan-made set list. I think that's kind of the glimmer of the luster on it, is that Brian created that set, which is just amazing that people consider it that good. But a lot of people love the show, and a lot more people that attended have gotten in touch with us. So here's some news and notes from Amsterdam that we kind of left off. So some tracks from the original set were left off, including Hitchhiker, which the only time it was ever played was earlier that tour in England. So, and that's still, to this day, the only time they've ever played the song. It was supposed to be middle of the set, around the same time as Glorified G, something like that. They did not do Hitchhiker. And in the second encore, they were supposed to start Within My Tree and go into Breath, which, what did I say last week, Matt?
I think you said that Breath would have been a perfect addition to that area of the set, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, and look, I'm never going to say get rid of Crown of Thorns, but in addition to it, Breath would have been a really good post Crown of Thorns or opener of the second encore. It feels like, because Alone was in there and Say to Love and Trust was in there, all those songs from that time period, I feel like Breath would have been a good option, and Steve would have been all for it.
My favorite Pearl Jam song, probably. Add that to any set, and it's going to make it better, in my opinion.
And Randy, from what I said last week, I absolutely would have taken that over Crown of Thorns, as I mentioned.
Yeah. Again, I like Crown of Thorns, and I think it was important in that show to have it because Brian was in the Mother Love Bone fan club, so...
Yeah, he got the pass for that one from me for sure, but any other time.
The problem is it needs Chloe. When they played it in Seattle, they played it without Chloe, and I think it just blends so nicely when they do both of them together. So, moving on, another news and note. Lily, who we mentioned turned 12 in 2012, is the daughter of Chris Cornell. So she's now 18 years old, and I felt I'm not a creep. I'm a journalist. I went on her Instagram account when somebody had mentioned that he thought it could be Chris Cornell's daughter. I went and looked for Lily Cornell. I think Silver's are actually the last name. And went on her Instagram and went to about June because every 18-year-old is going to have a birthday party picture in June. And lo and behold, we have a winner. So that was your birthday shout out.
Power of the internet right there.
Exactly. Wash, which they opened with. It was the first time they had played it in Europe since 1996. I got from Aurelian, our fan that went to the show. We told a story last week. He sent me the Deep magazine with Brian's interview, which is a little bit different from the Rolling Stone because it's more of a fan, perspective for Pearl Jam and more in depth. So reading it, he says that there were no yield songs because every song he would have wanted they played the night before. So that's fair. I think that.
I think that's fair for the crowd. I think that's a really nice thing he did.
Sure, yeah. I didn't check which ones they played, but like you wouldn't want In Hiding 2 nights in a row.
Maybe we just figured out the reason why there was no even flow.
Possibly, or maybe he's just giving a nod to the fans that are like, no even flow all the time. Who knows? So he had some rare songs on his list. As you can see, Hitchhiker was in there. But after talking to Ed's, and you're going to love this, Matt. This is something you emphasize all the time. Ed says that rare songs don't make for good shows.
I do agree. I think rare songs make for good shows when they're sporadic and sprinkled about in a tour, but maybe not 6 or 7 of them in one set.
Which they usually don't do anyway.
But when you have this kind of opportunity, it's like, I want to hear, I want the first set to be Lost Dogs in its entirety. You can't really do something like that.
No, they're not going to play.
You could, but you shouldn't.
3 of those songs they've never even played before.
Ever, right.
Whale Song, like they're going to bring Jack out to play Whale Song.
Yeah, right.
So, another quick point from Brian, he said that his intention in creating the set list was to make the band happy and comfortable, which you said that was one of the things that he could have known, guitar changes or something like that, which is really important. He didn't want them to cut 20 of his 30 choices. So, that's fair because everything he did were all songs that they seemed comfortable playing except for Bugs, which they made work.
Yes.
And he had no intentions on making it the greatest set list of all time. Final news and note from Amsterdam is we know who the thank you guy is.
Yes, we didn't find him. We're going to find him.
We don't know his name, but we have a lead. He's from South Africa. I know somebody that, as Saul Goodman would say, I know a guy who knows a guy.
Right.
And we'll see if we can get him on and we can thank him ourselves.
Maybe we could get him to do like a live thank you scream for us. That would be amazing.
Like an intro, just like,
yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You want to hear some more stories? I got some good stories from that show.
Sure, we can get the emails in if you want.
Okay. This one's from Warren. He said that Amsterdam night 2, my wife and I went to both shows, flew in from London. On night 2, we were wandering aimlessly around the city when we stopped on a street corner because I wanted to check if this guy behind us was following us. Creepy. Then looking down the street, I saw Jeff Ament 15 feet away from the outside of a pancake shop, talking to a couple of lady fans. He was being super nice and approachable, but I didn't want to interrupt him. Plus, I think he had his wife with him. I stood listening to the conversation. He asked them if they were going to tonight's show, and they said no. So I wanted to go and see him, but felt worried to invade his space before we can get a grip. He went in too fast for us to talk to him, but it was cool anyway. Such a treat. When at that show that night, there was about 6 to 10 songs. That was an amazing feeling. The encore with Release was incredible. Crown of Thorns felt special. The atmosphere was electric. It gets said a lot, but there was a lot of crackling with joy and kind of a wow, what is happening? Then when they brought Brian out, it all started to make sense. Still in my top 3 favorite shows. My favorite overall for the trip and beautiful people of Amsterdam. Always tinged with the bitter regret that I was too slow to get courage to go and talk to Jeff. But when we went back in 2014, I got to shout out to Matt on the street. At least that time I got to say hi.
Nice.
That was a cool story, Warren.
Very cool.
And Warren was at this show too, so we'll get to hear from Warren again.
Nice.
So, and that's a really good story. This one's from Joe. He says, because of a business relationship, we got tickets through the band, and I started talking to our seat neighbors, and this really ties into what we're going to be talking about today. And he asked how they were connected to the band. It turns out that they were relatives from the Roskilde victims. And they got to go backstage before the show, but because there was a business contact, he had to behave himself and not act like a fanboy when Eddie walked by. We got to eat their catering, which was very yummy, and the show was amazing. Though communal to take the subway back to the city center with everyone afterwards. Cool. Wow. I couldn't imagine sitting next to one. I would just want to give him a big hug and just be like, I'm so sorry. I really hope that, they're taking care of you. And, it's good to know that we know that they take care of their fans and they take care of a good part of that base. So happy to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be, I don't know how I'd react to somebody said that. If I knew somebody was related to that group at all, much less at a show. Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Thank you both, Warren and Joe, for your stories. And you know what? Let's get to a little news. I'm sure you've seen it plastered all over our Facebook page, our Twitter account, our Instagram, anywhere else, the boards, wherever you can find it. But we have our first merch store up right now. And it is, if you go to lo4loctober.itemorder.com, you'll see that there are a bunch of items there. We have our Halloween shirt. It's a severed hand. You can recognize it by the wedding band. See what I did there? And it's a severed hand long sleeve shirt and a hoodie. And then we have new State of Love and Trust shirts for Illinois with Cubs colors, because Cubs are in the playoffs, even though, the wild card game is either today or tomorrow. So by this time, they could be going further or they could be gone. I think they're playing the Rockies.
They play, yes, Rockies tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern.
Why would they do that? Both teams were just traveling. That was so weird.
Who knows?
Because they had the 163. Who cares? This is not a baseball show.
Well, sometimes it is.
It can be.
Sometimes it's baseball, sometimes it's wrestling. It's a mixed bag.
I'm sorry for the wrestling part. I really try to keep that to a minimum.
I think people like it, actually, so it's okay.
All right. Hey, I'll add it when I get to add it then.
Great.
What else we have? We have a ringer shirt, just a Live on Four Legs ringer shirt, and a V-neck for ladies. So there are a lot of different items, different colors for different items. The store is going to be up until the 15th. What's going on is it's a pre-order sale right now. And once the 15th is over, we're going to be putting this into production, printing, shipping. We will ship overseas. I'm sorry about the international shipping prices. It is what it is, but I understand if you guys from overseas, look, if you're ever in the States, we're going to hook you up. That's, it's a lot of money for shipping, but we'll hook you up when we see you. Again, lo4loctober.itemorder.com, and it'll be up until the 15th of October. So
very exciting.
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to get me something. I think I'm going to get the severed hand shirt.
I'm definitely getting the severed hand sweatshirt. That's like the perfect Halloween shirt. One of my ultimate favorite songs to see live as well. Yeah, it's a really cool shirt.
I'm with you on that too, Steve. I love the song live. I will be getting the hoodie. Yes, I'm going to pay for it. I'm not taking anything for free. And Steve, I don't know if you know, but Mom made a purchase as well. She bought one of the V-necks.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
Thanks, Mom.
And she's definitely listening.
Absolutely. Yeah, she listens, yes.
I would have to assume, yeah. So I told my parents how to download a podcast, and I subscribed so it'll pop up, but I'm sure they'll never
You
see it pop up. So, yeah, they tried. Matt, you want to mention Patreon real quick?
Sure. Live on Four Legs wants to bring you guys the best listening experience. We also want to bring you guys fun stuff to enjoy, like more episodes and merch. So we're looking to raise money through our Patreon page to keep our store up and running. We're going to be adding some amazing merchandise for the listeners, and we're also going to be donating a lot of money to charity. We're not asking for a free handout, and we're not taking any profits. For every donation, there will be prizes and incentives, so let's get to those. $40 donation, you'll receive an exclusive Live on Four Legs t-shirt. Those are the t-shirts that we put up in our store and that we feature every month. You'll also get a Live on Four Legs sticker, a shout out on the show, and the really cool thing, an opportunity to pick an episode. You'll tell us which Pearl Jam show to cover, if it's one you wanted to go to, if it's one you like to listen to, or if it's one that you've been to that holds a special place in your heart. If you donate $20, you'll receive a special gift bundle consisting of merch from the 2018 home away shows. This bundle is big time while supplies last. They are going fast, and once we get close to reaching our goal or open up our store, we will mail those out to you guys. That also comes with a Live on Four Legs sticker and a shout out on the show. If you donate $10, you get a special shout out on the show along with a Live on Four Legs sticker, a Live on Four Legs print set, and a thank you letter from Randy and I. If you donate $5, you receive a Live on Four Legs sticker, a thank you letter from Randy and I, and also a shout out on the show. If you donate $1, you'll get a shout out from Randy and I on the show. So go check out our Patreon page, Live on Four Legs, become a patron, do a one-time donation. Any little bit helps. Again, it all goes back to you guys, whether it be merchandise or charitable organizations.
Cool. Awesome. Lots of good stuff, and we have most of those packages are still left for Patreon, and no pressure, not asking for much, and, as little as possible, as much as possible. Whatever you guys do, it's going to be extremely appreciated, extremely helpful, and, we just hope to meet you guys down the line and just talk Pearl Jam in person. That's kind of a bonding experience too. So,
or we could talk baseball, or we could talk wrestling, whatever you guys want.
Matt, the extent of your wrestling vocabulary is Booker T and Mankind.
Well,
so.
if you want to talk like 1999 to 2003, I got you covered.
That's the good old days.
The good old days.
So, you guys going to get this reference as I kind of segue into the show?
I got it immediately.
You got it immediately.
Absolutely.
We're on a road movie to Berlin. Can't drive out the way we drove in. You picked up on that, right, Matt?
Yeah. And that was a beautiful version. I think you guys could be in They Might Be Giants right now. Like if they were looking for
who's John and who's John?
If they were looking for new Johns, then you're in.
Perfect. So here it is. We're Berlin 2010. This was right dab in the middle of when Backspacer was being toured for, and that European tour came after a U.S. leg, which ended with an amazing MSG show, which Steve sold me his tickets to.
Yep.
Regretfully, you had to go to a wedding, right?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dan Robinson. Appreciate that. I'm going to be like your brother and have you be my wedding. Oh, my God. Check the 10 Club site before you book weddings.
Seriously.
Please.
I guess I should tell that to my wedding band, right? Got to go by the 10 Club.
Right.
And Pearl Jam or Pearl Jam managers, if you're listening, September, like middle to late September is not going to work this year. If you do anything, make that the Australia tour that's being rumored, because we're not going to Australia. So
we need the United States stadium tour to start in October, November. That would be perfect. For
October 1st would work out. October 2nd, a year from today.
Perfect.
Okay, great. Let's
work out perfectly.
Put it in the books.
So, from you were living in Yonkers, was it?
It was in Pelham in Westchester.
Okay.
I after having sold you that ticket, I was just like, I felt like I was having some sort of withdrawals. Like I missed the MSG show that we did go to was amazing. But the second night, the night that I missed, was definitely the better of the two shows, and I just felt like I had unfinished business to get to or something like that. So I looked into going to one of the Europe shows, the European shows, and Berlin just worked out on my schedule with work and that sort of thing. I was actually gainfully employed at the time, unlike now, and it just worked. It just worked well. So I decided to put in for 10 club tickets and got them, and and just headed over for a whirlwind. I think I was there for like 60 hours or something like that. Yeah,
wow.
I do remember you were like there and back.
Yeah.
And this was the only show you did
for this trip. It was the only show that I did. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you went in 2006 and you went to Paris and
in 2006 I did Paris, Marseille, Bern, and Bologna, which was awesome. And that trip actually gave me the confidence, for lack of a better word, to know that I could do this trip, because one of the things that always made me nervous about going to Europe was I don't speak any language other than English.
Right, yeah.
But when I was in Europe for the 06 shows, everywhere except Paris, people were super nice for me not speaking English. Paris was they were a little bit less accommodating. Let's try to be politically correct there.
Were they just frustrated by that point?
Yeah. Well,
people
I think
you coming to their city.
I don't want to get too much on a tangent here, but the Iraq War had just started, and when people in Paris saw Americans, they were just like, "No,
freedom toast, and freedom prize."
Yeah, they were just like, "No, you guys can, shove off." we put Canadian flags on our bags for the trip, but people, they saw right through us. There was no no confusion. They knew that we were not Canadian, and just the level of accommodation went down pretty quickly. But everywhere else, people were super friendly, and it made me feel like I could go over to Berlin by myself and have a pretty good time, which I definitely did.
And this was Matt and I had talked about this a couple episodes ago when we were kind of recapping 2018. This was in the outdoor arena with like the tents, right? Over the stage.
Yeah. So that one of the things that made this show just so awesome was the arena that it was in. I actually tried to look it up a little bit before the show. Before today, I mean. And if I'm understanding correctly, if I'm reading correctly, the stadium was built in I think it was like the 1920s or the 1930s. But if you had told me that it was built like by the Visigoths or something like that, like in a Roman Colosseum time, I definitely would have had to at least think about it before I said no. It was definitely that kind of. It's definitely that kind of like open air. The seats are built right into the structure of the stadium. It's just like a big bowl with steps that are seats down into the big open field, which since it was built in the 30s, is probably for like soccer or something along those lines. Sure. But if you had told me that gladiators fought there, I'd have been like, maybe I could see it, that sort of thing. And it was just a really, really cool place to see a show. The sound was awesome, and it was just like a really cool experience, something that you don't see here in the States. Probably the closest actually is the Randall's Island Stadium, but it just felt much, much older than that. Like you walked right onto the field, and then like when you went out to the merch booths and things like that, you were just walking from the field to outside. It was just it's just a very different feel than a lot of other places that you see a show.
Sure.
Well, it can make a show a lot better when you're at a place that has a lot of charm like that. You can go to 1,000 different MSGs over here, but what makes it charming? It's stuff like that.
Right. That's why Wrigley Field, they keep going back and going back, because
absolutely.
It's such a hard ticket to get, and there's so many Cubs and Pearl Jam's fans out there that it's kind of a pilgrimage, or
and Wrigleyville is one of the best places ever.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, when we went to Wrigley, both times when we went to Chicago, we went to Wrigley for both of us. We all over the place. Yeah. We had some fun trips. So why this show? Because I mean, you've been to 42 shows, and we had talked about you really love the Burn and Bologna shows, I believe you were saying when we talked last. But why this show for today?
So this show, because the point of this podcast is to talk about the Pearl Jam show experience.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this was the best show that I've ever been to. Jones Beach was just night 2 of Jones Beach in 2000 was amazing. There are other shows that the show itself, the set list itself, was probably better, but the experience of this show, I can't imagine a more Pearl Jam show experience than this one. From the trip over to meeting the people at the show to some of the things that we'll talk about, when we get into the actual set list that happened. Just the overall experience of the show was something that I think is going to be hard to replicate, and I don't think you could get at a show from a band other than Pearl Jam. You're not going to get something like this at a, I don't disparage any other bands, but you're not going to get something like this at a Bon Jovi show or whatever.
I was thinking Dave Matthews.
there you go. Even Dave Matthews, who has they have that live show aura about them. I just don't think you're going to get something like this at any other band's show. And then the other thing for this show is this is the last show. Kind of talking about that Pearl Jam only experience. This is the last show that I went to that had the full Pearl Jam experience. And what I mean by that is this is the last show I went to that had one dedicated opener. We were at PJ20, so there were lots of other bands, playing. Of course, it was like a festival that weekend. But I don't think I've been to another show where there was just an opener in Pearl Jam. And to me, I feel like there's been a little bit of a loss since that has kind of gone away. Like I sort of understand why they do it. They maybe get some more time to play, and it's more dedicated just to them. But the Ben Harper and the Relentless Seven opened for them at this show, and man, they were awesome. And that experience just gets you so ready for Pearl Jam that not having it anymore, I think is a kind of a bummer, man.
We've talked about that a couple of times. We haven't really mentioned it on the show at all because we haven't really ran into that situation yet. But I find myself in this world now where I don't know what's going on in the Indian rock and roll scene, because it's, I'll have a local radio station on, it'll all kind of sound the same. I won't know the difference between Portugal the Man and Vance Joy or something like that. So I kind of, the last time I saw an opener, I believe it was Band of Horses, but the one before that was Black Keys. Mm-hmm. Those were those MSG shows. Black Keys open up. And I remember at the time, I'm not really into Black Keys anymore because of some shit that they've done in the past that I don't really approve of, which is I'm not really at liberty to say, but the story. So after that, I was like, oh great, Black Keys were good. Maybe I should start listening to them more. They got some radio play and people were talking about them, and then I could say, you know what, I remember them opening up for Pearl Jam. I was there for that. I think My Morning Jacket was another one of those bands that did that, and Ben Harper and the Relentless Seven too. You just don't see it anymore.
Two of my favorite bands now that I've gone to see multiple times are Ben Harper and Sleater-Kinney, and I don't think I would have. I definitely don't think I would have listened to Ben Harper without having seen him open for Pearl Jam, and maybe I would have seen Sleater-Kinney because that kind of the whole Riot Girl thing. I might have come across them, but I definitely came across them years before I would have otherwise,
right?
Because I saw them open for Pearl Jam, and I feel like it's a bummer that we don't get that kind of stuff anymore.
It's kind of a roll the dice type thing because you say with Ben Harper, Sleater-Kinney, of course, amazing every time. But then when you go see Pearl Jam and they play with the Black Keys are kind of one of those bands. They're good, they're fine live, but they're a band that they pop up on festivals all the time. They pop up here, pop up there. Same with Mars Volta. I mean, Randy, how many times do we see Mars Volta open up for another band?
Open up for like System of a Down, open up for Foo Fighters, open up for
It's
Chili
Red Hot
Peppers.
Chili
Yeah.
Peppers, Foo Fighters. Like we've seen them a million times. So, I understand sometimes it's like, well, do I want to see them again, or can I catch 3.5 hours of Pearl Jam? I wouldn't be able to pick one or the other. I'd have to be selfish and say, I will take opening bands only if it's these guys, because I don't really care to see.
You don't want Ted Leo and the Pharmacist, or the Pharmacist.
I was not.
Can I just have the Pharmacists?
What kind of prescriptions you get?
I just said I don't want to disparage other bands, so I was not going to bring them up. But yeah, that was a rough couple of shows when they opened.
Is that the exception?
Yeah, but
it's hilarious.
And I definitely see what you're saying, Matt. Like at Fenway, for instance, or at a show like that where you're going to see Pearl Jam, you just want to see them play. Yeah. No opener, fine, cool. But if you're going to an arena show or whatever, I feel like that's part of the.
Yes.
Part of the thing is going and waiting and seeing them and then talking about that band.
Sure, yeah.
Were they good? What did you like about them? What didn't you like about them? And it's just like, man, they were good, but Pearl Jam is going to be so much better. And it just gets you into that headspace of, this is really happening now.
Well, I think I mentioned a couple shows ago that when Bad Religion opened up in Chicago, I had been a Bad Religion fan for like 5-10 years. So I freaked out when I found out that they were opening up, and it was only a week before the show actually happened that it got announced. So sometimes that does happen. Social Distortion, another one.
That's another really good point. The bands that they had, the other end, bands that are, maybe even more established than Pearl Jam, in the sense that they've been around longer. Sonic Youth. Right. Oh my God.
Buzzcocks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Exactly. Those sorts of things. I mean, how often do the Buzzcocks play in the United States for you to be able to go see them?
I mean, not anymore.
Right.
Definitely not anymore. So.
You know what I mean? So, like, being able to see them open for Pearl Jam, I don't know that I would have had the opportunity to see one of the greatest bands ever, except for when they opened up for Pearl Jam. So, yeah, that's definitely another side of it,
kind of something related to that as well. Like in the summer, I saw the Pixies open up for Weezer, and they ended, and I was like, can I see more of the Pixies, though? Because they were...
Yeah. Exactly.
Pixies don't need to open up for them. They're just doing it as a favor. Like, there was a show a couple years ago, Descendants were opening up for somebody that they absolutely didn't have to open up for. Like, Sublime with Rome or something like that. Yeah. But anyway, let's do you want to hear a little clip of Under Pressure? Him and Eddie doing Under Pressure?
I did not know you had that. Absolutely.
We'll have it. Okay, let's listen.
Randy, you don't have to ask me that question.
Well, can we play the Vanilla Ice version first?
Okay.
Because it's not the same. So Ben Harper opening, and we didn't mention this yet. Let's just quickly just mention this now because we're going to talk about this a lot. The bulk of the show is going to be this later in the show. this was on June 30th, 2010, which is the 10-year anniversary of the Roskilde Festival accident. So at that time, I wasn't really plugged in. I was a 14-year-old just going into high school, whatever it was. Steve, you were in the loop at the time. So what do you remember?
Yeah. So it's a little bit fuzzy for me as well, honestly. I graduated college just a couple weeks before the incident happened, and with everything, moving out of my apartment and all that crazy stuff that was happening when you graduate college, I wasn't really as dialed in. I didn't even realize it had happened until a couple weeks after it did. And then the only thing I could think of, or one of the only things I could think of, was back to my first ever show, Pearl Jam show, was at Randall's Island, and
we'll do that one at some point.
Yeah, definitely. And that it was. I mean, there were a couple times at that show where I definitely felt like if I lose my footing, and it had rained that day, and Randall's. I don't know if anybody who's ever been to Randall's Island. It's a really cool venue, but that infield is just a disaster area.
Oh, it's the worst.
And the crush at that show was unlike anything I've been to before or since, and it just really messed me up thinking about, even at that show I felt safe because you think people are going to be there to take care of you and there's security guards and things like that, and then something like that happens, and you kind of think like, is this going to be it for the band? Because, not necessarily it for the band as far as albums and things like that, but, are they going to stop touring? Are they going to, finish out their commitments and then,
a big gap between.
And then, finish out their commitments and then come back and review and decide to never tour again because it's not worth it. It was a really hard thing to deal with. And then the flip side of that is, you start thinking, is it worth going to shows? If you're in danger, and maybe that didn't cross my mind so much at the time, being 22 or whatever, a dumb kid, but it definitely is something that crosses your mind of, at least what kind of shows do I want to be going to? Am I going to go to general admission shows anymore and things like that?
Yeah. There's a point where, you do get too old for that. People don't, and people, the GA show that I went to, which is one we're covering next week, everybody was really cool. No pushing, no shoving. I was on the rail, and cool as could be. I even went to go to the bathroom because I was waiting in line for all the time, and people were like, "Yeah, just you owe me a beer."
Right.
That's easy. So
right.
We'll get into that a little more, but I think it's really fitting that they opened with Long Road. So let's start out with that.
And I wished for so long, can I stay? All the precious moments, can I stay? It's not like wings are falling, can I stay? Without you something's missing, can I say? Down, down.
this, like I said, this really fitting opener for
Absolutely.
this show.
Considering the mood, and I'll talk more about some things that set the mood when we get to one of the later songs in the set. But definitely, Long Road set the mood perfectly well. It was the anniversary of what was going on was on everybody's mind, and this kind of just it was. To me, it seemed like it was their way to acknowledge that they knew what was going on as well.
Yeah.
But it's a long road, and we're gonna, we can't live in the past. We have to, we still have to, do what we're gonna do. And it just the version of it was just amazing. Set the tone really well of a somber tone, but also, a hopeful tone, which was pretty cool.
There seems to be hints and foreshadowing early in the set, which we'll get into here.
Not to mention that it's just a really good song to open with at any point.
Sure.
I think it's not too slow, not too fast. Sets a good pace.
People sing to it.
People sing to it, exactly.
Yeah, I think the only opener I like better than Long Road is Love Boat Captain. I don't even know when the last time they played that song at all, much less when they've opened it with it.
They played it a couple times this summer, but
they?
Opening probably not since Riot Act.
That is just a great opener.
I'm with you there.
But Long Road I think is definitely up there, probably number 2 for me.
Song 2 that we get into. This is not the 4th show in a row, but 4 out of the 5 shows we've had to cover this damn song.
I'm gonna interrupt for a second, Randy. I apologize. I know I'm just a guest here. So I'm sorry.
No, please. But your family.
I like Got Some. I think it's a great song.
No, that's enough.
Can you tell we're brothers? Because I love it too, and not only that, but I listened to this transition from Long Road into Got Some maybe 3 or 4 times. And it works so well.
Really
Got Some in
does.
this number 2 spot is so good.
Yeah, it really does. You get the slow open of Long Road, setting that hopeful tone, and then just right into Got Some picks up the pace.
Especially that last chorus there, where they kind of play it out. They do the little solo lick over the melody. It's I don't know. It fits so well, and the crowd's going nuts for it, and they're kind of off to the races at this point. I think it was very effective.
Well, guess what? You know what? This is the last Backspacer show we're going to do for a couple of weeks until we have you back on. Actually, that'll be the next Backspacer show we do. So
very good.
No more Got Some. All right, Why Go is next, and I'm going to throw this out there, but we haven't really talked about these little things that Pearl Jam fans are just. It's a good crowd when the fans know the little isms. And one of the isms with Why Go is in the beginning during the drum part, they all go, hey, 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 hey. And this crowd was just on it. Yeah. It was perfect.
And it also goes further than that. Eddie will sometimes now change the melody of the way he sings songs. Better Man, stuff like that. Better Man's a prime example. But he's been doing it kind of the same way for about 10 years, and now that is just the way you sing it. You don't sing it like the album anymore.
Of course, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and this was the Why Go Home when the crowd gets into singing that. I just knew that this show was going to be just something amazing because everybody was singing. And everybody was singing at the top of their lungs, and everybody was jumping. It was just so cool. And you look around the stadium that I mentioned before with the really cool layout, and it was just epic. You knew it was going to be something special.
And I just want to throw in there, I don't know if I just haven't been paying attention, but it might have been on this song where he brought it out first, but Stone was using his really torn up red Stratocaster that he used a lot back then, and I love that fucking guitar, and I haven't seen it in a long time. So watching this on YouTube, they put the bootleg track along to it, so it was high quality, and I'm like, there's that fucking guitar. I haven't seen that. I totally forgot about that guitar, so thank you, Stone.
What a thing of beauty. Next up, we have Given to Fly, and this is one of the ones that you want to talk about a little bit, Steve. We both agree that this was a faster live version than usual.
Yeah, this is one of the few Pearl Jam songs that I really like on the album, and I don't like it live.
I'm 100% with
to
you.
me, this Given to Fly. Hopefully, Mom is not listening to this episode, Matt, because I know Given to Fly is like her favorite Pearl Jam song ever. But
Well, now hopefully I'm not listening to this episode too, because I really love this song live. Actually,
to me, it's just it's a showstopper, and I don't mean that in a good way. I mean it just drags the set down instantly.
Wow.
Most times that it's played.
I don't disagree.
But
that's why I liked when they opened with it, because there was no drag.
Yeah, it's funny. I agree. It's not one of my favorite openers, probably just because I haven't seen it open. I haven't seen them use it open very often. But in this spot, I don't know if it's because they did pick up the pace for it. It seemed like, or it was just because it was early into the show, so you weren't really. There was no fatigue factor yet for Given to Fly to kind of like jump on top of and kind of bring you down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was or maybe the combination of the placement and the faster pace, but for some reason, man, did this song work that night. It was just like, man, even I was singing and putting my arms up, and even I was totally into this version of the song this night for sure.
It's one of their best mixed tracks. I hate to cut you off. I know it's weird because we're in the same room and you're not. So
no, go. I just wanted to say I had no idea you guys felt this way about Given to Fly live. I
thought I've told you.
I'm a little. Hold on, I gotta take a break for a second, guys.
Catch your breath.
All right, I'm good to go. What were you saying, Randy?
I was going to say I think it's one of Pearl Jam's best mixed songs, because when you listen to it on the album, that whole intro, it just feels like there's a mystique to it. There's something happened, and then there's a crescendo, and the waves came crashing. That whole part, you get that story of a kid, getting wings and flying away, and live it's just kind of there.
Yeah, could not agree more. Yep.
Yeah, I could agree. Like they'll speed it up or do whatever, and you almost lose some of the mysticism as you're talking about.
Sure.
Because it's so well mixed, So
right. Okay, so we get a little break. Eddie talks. He speaks in German. Sounds like he did okay, but he goes right back to English. Asks the crowd if they're happy, and it's an overwhelmingly says yes. Ask if they feel safe, which is a more important question, and that's another yes. He says they can't feel happy unless the crowd feels safe, and that's the whole premise of the show here. Obviously, this is foreshadowing something. He says the first time they ever played in Berlin was in '92, and they played 9 songs. And this is a very typical Ed line. They'll play 10 tonight, or at least 10 tonight.
They play more songs in their encore than they played in total their first time they were there.
It shows how much they've grown. Elderly Woman is next, and let's not spend too much time on Elderly Woman, but you can really hear Boom as a prominent piece in this. And maybe I'm just not paying close enough attention because it's played a zillion times, but do you feel like when you're listening to Most Elderly Women that you can hear that in that, breakdown part?
I don't know. To me, I feel like just this time frame, Boom was more prominent than he was after this tour. So I don't know if it's just because of the time frame in which it was, I don't mean like the time frame within the show. I mean like 2010.
Right.
I just feel like you got Boom was more of a standout.
Sure.
And maybe it just came through on this track for some reason that night more. But I definitely feel like you heard him more back then than you do now.
Randy, I'm with you. I just don't know if I have been paying close enough attention. So I don't know. I'm with you on that one.
It sounded good though.
It's great.
Absolutely.
Just keep his levels up and keep Boom going. Okay, next song. Let's play a clip, and it is the rarest song that you'll ever hear live from Yield. That's not the Red Dot Untitled song, because they'll never do that. So, push me, pull me.
I had a false belief, I thought we came in to stay. Oh, we're all just visiting, we're all just breaking like waves. The oceans made me, but who came up with love? Oh, push me, pull me, push me. pull me out. Push me, pull me. Push me, pull me. Push me, pull me. So if there were no angels, would there be no sin? No, you better stop me before I begin. But let me just say, if I...
What a wacky song in general. It's weird poetry and beatnikish, and the live version, I remember the first time I ever heard this was that MSG that we were talking about before, and hearing it live, you don't know what it is until the chorus really kicks in. So,
well, it's funny. We actually knew the people in the show knew what it was because anybody who was there early heard it during sound check.
Okay.
So we were like, everybody was kind of like, no way, are they going to play that tonight? And it was like, no, it's just sound check. They're just messing around. And then sure enough, as soon as you hear that opening bit there, we're all like, no way, this is awesome. Yeah, so
It's arguably better.
the live version over the album.
This version, yes.
Yeah,
I agree.
I would agree with that.
The bass is so heavy in it, and I think, does it have a number 9 feel to you when it's on the album? Kind of like there's confusion going on in the background, and he's just kind of talking, and it's
I can see that.
Weird.
Yeah.
You know, it's not Yoko Ono weird, but it's still weird.
No, I could see like a callback to that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Some stats on this. It's had a weird history. When Yield came out in 98, the song was played once as a tag to Daughter, and then it was only played twice and not played until Philadelphia in 09. So that was a 342 show layoff. They brought it back for Boston MSG in this show in 2010. Has only been played 7 times since, the last time in 2014 for the Yield show. Steve, have you seen this like 4 times? Because you were at the Philly show.
Yeah.
You were at this, you were at PJ20, and you were at the Yield show.
Yeah. Yes, I guess I have, yeah.
And if you were at that MSG show, it would have been 5.
Yeah.
You'd probably hold the record. It's like how...
I think he would, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like how I hold the record for most times seeing All Night.
Yeah.
Because I've seen All Night like 5
almost
or 6
every time. Yeah.
So...
Yeah, just real quick, I didn't realize how infrequently All Night was played until you guys said it on last week's podcast, because
I agree.
I felt like there was a period where every show we went to, they were playing it. I was just like, oh, this is like their new like Baba or something. Like, it's just going to be thrown into every set.
Sure.
When you hear that song, it sounds like a song that they play.
Yeah.
You could hear it one time, and then you think to yourself, I've heard them play this a million times every show.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, no, this is your first time. It's just that kind of sounding song.
Yeah. But Matt, and you guys both know Suzette, who she even she at one point was like, God, I can't believe they're playing this song again. And then Randy mentioned how infrequently it was played last week, and I was like, that's so bizarre. Like, it doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Exactly.
Does Suzette know about the show? I told Sibel. I don't have contact with Suzette.
I told her about it when we met up in Boston. So
okay.
Hopefully she's on the lookout for it.
Okay. Oh, I didn't even get to see her.
I'll definitely text her now, because now that she's been brought up.
Cool.
Okay.
We'll
let her know for sure.
Now that her name has been shout out, you got to tell her.
Shout out both to Suzette and Sibel that we've had so many great adventures with, including PJ20, which was just one of the best weekends of our entire lives.
For sure.
I haven't been married yet, so I'm allowed to say that.
God, Randy.
I'm just joking.
That was hilarious.
So, next 3 songs, I don't want to spend too much time on these because there's a lot to talk about in between, but Immortality, In Hiding, Even Flow, it seems like it's flowing pretty well here.
Absolutely.
No breaks.
Yep.
All great performances. I love Immortality. I love In Hiding. So, yeah.
Of course.
Yep, we're in the same spot again, Matt. I was just going to call out how each one of those 3 songs just sounded awesome. And it could have been the mood of the crowd and all that stuff probably had something to do with it. But 3 of the best versions of those songs, I think.
Okay, so let's play a snippet of this one. This was a rarely heard Backspacer song, and because we're not really going to talk about it too much in later shows, it's only been played, I think, 14 times. Let's hear it for Johnny Guitar. I go back and forth with this one, whether I like it or not. I think it's really cheesy, but then I think it's like kind of fun.
What is happening right now? No, Johnny Guitar is amazing. I freaking love that song.
It's kind of cheesy though. He looks at a poster and like falls in love with the girl on the poster.
But it's just too good. But no, who can't relate to that though? Like that's
very true.
It's just like that. Like every kid has had that. Like I mean, holy schmoly! Stephen King wrote a book about the poster girl. Like that's like I think it's great. It totally captures that that age of just
learning your sexuality.
Yeah, and just like am I ever going to meet that girl? And like, of course you're not. But at 10 or whatever, you don't realize that.
You're a vivid dreamer at that
right?
point.
Exactly. I think it perfectly captures that that feeling of growing up. And it is a cheesy song and it's a silly song. But if you think about it from the mind of a 10 or 12-year-old he's trying to capture with that song, I think it just works perfectly. And it's such a great, fun song, especially with the heavy stuff that we're going to have to deal with. It's just such a good, lighthearted experience. I love Johnny Guitar, especially in concert.
Matt, quick, why do you not like Johnny?
It's not that I don't like it. I agree with everything Steve said, and yeah, it's a really cool idea. But on the other hand, sometimes when I hear it, I also think this is just the dumbest song I've ever heard.
that's half the time I hear it too. I'm like,
it's really weird, but no, you're right. Like sometimes I enjoy it. I don't know. I think what I'm trying to say is I enjoy it more when if I'm listening to Backspacer all the way through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Like I will never go and like pick it out.
It's not on a mix.
I'm not going to make a mix, right? But
right.
Yeah, I'm either or.
You know what I see it as? It's one of their late catalog songs. It's now considered a deep track. I think it's only been played like 14 times. I'll get into the stats in a second, but like those bands like the Stones and bands that just keep putting out records, but people want to hear their older stuff. It's just one of those songs that you're just never going to pay attention to just because you're, especially the Pearl Jam fan, the Pearl Jam fans, as you said before, exactly. All like, oh, I want to hear blood.
Right.
Which, yes, I do want to hear blood, but
yes,
besides the point.
Yeah.
They're never going to attach themselves to Johnny Guitar or talk about it for 4 minutes like we just have.
Like I said, going back to when I saw Weezer this summer, they didn't play any new. It was a hits show. That's all they do. They put out an album every year, and then when they tour, they just do the hits.
I'm okay with that because Weezer is the kind of band that I don't go into deep cuts for.
No, exactly. I'm just kind of reiterating what you were saying. Like you don't.
Yeah.
Who cares? You don't. I don't know what Rolling Stones have been doing in the past 10 years, but I don't really want to see any of it when I go see them play. I want to see all the old stuff.
All you need to know is Keith Richards is still alive.
Yes. Unbelievable.
Some Johnny stats here. It's been only played 4 times since 2010. Another Backspacer song that faded once Eddie snapped the gauntlet fingers from Thanos and turned it to ashes. And even though it was on the set list of Hartford 2013, it has not been played since 2011. We go from Johnny into Corduroy. What?
Corduroy question mark?
It's like from Arrested Development. Her?
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah.
Corduroy? Here?
But again, I thought it worked really well. Some of the people around me had actually expressed disappointment that they were going to see Corduroy. And then all of a sudden they pull it out at 11 or whatever it is. And people went mental around me. It was really, really cool.
Right. I mean, do I think, having been studying these set lists now for the podcast for so long, do I think it works here? Maybe not as well as it works in other places. Does it work as a song you pull out to really shock the people? 100%. Because by the time you get into it, you're like, they're not going to do it. And then when you do it in this 11 spot, it is it's shocking, like you said, and I'm sure everybody responded and reacted to it accordingly.
Yeah, it's not paint by numbers here, and that's really cool. We
No.
saw the Amsterdam show last week. They played it 6th,
Mhm.
so this is 11th in the set, and I've seen them close an encore with it, and I thought that was really cool that they did
that's
that.
really cool.
And
Definitely.
I wish that they would do that more often, but
But it's a song that sounds so amazing in the 2-3 spot.
yes.
But when you bring it in 11 or at the end of a set, I would take that. I would be so happy to be shocked and to be blown away like that at a show.
And Steve, going back to what you were saying before, all the people saying you're disappointed for not hearing Corduroy. Corduroy is one of those songs. It's the song that I have to hear, like the first Boston show and the MSG show, the first MSG show from 2016. That's the song that made me realize, holy shit, I'm at a Pearl Jam show, because it's on all of my mixes. My fiance is one of her favorite songs.
Yeah.
We listen to it all the time. It's so emotional. I get teary-eyed when I do hear it live in those situations.
It's funny you say that, because I was actually thinking that Why Go actually played that role in this.
Oh, wow.
In this set, yeah.
Okay.
That was the one that kind of like.
That's a good point.
And especially because the crowd sang along the way that they did.
Yeah.
It kind of like snaps you into, oh man, this is epic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And Matt's song is Last Kiss. Whenever they play Matt.
Yeah,
Last Kiss.
absolutely.
Oh, I melt. But no, Steve, I think I had mentioned on some earlier episodes that Corduroy might have been one of the first Pearl Jam songs you had ever shown me. So
yeah.
I agree with you guys too. It's kind of that, oh shit, we're here. And who knows, maybe even people got that when it was in the 11th spot. Maybe they hadn't even, it might not have even hit them yet where they were. And then Corduroy plays, because that's how I would feel as well.
This is usually like a daughter spot too.
Yeah,
So
right,
exactly.
take that over daughter any day of the week.
I mean, Randy, we were in Fenway, and I told you we parked the car and we started walking, and I said, it still hasn't hit me yet. Like, are we here? Is it have all these months finally gone by? But I think Corduroy is kind of like a defining song when it comes to that, and I agree completely with that.
I think most Pearl Jam fans would tell you, if we were to sit here and make this ultimate compilation of like everybody rank every Pearl Jam song ever, the number 1 and number 2 I think would be Corduroy and Black. I think that's because you're going to get a mix of fans from the early years, you're going to get a mix from fans from today, but I don't think that out of 10, anybody's going to rate either of those songs lower than 8 or 9.
Yeah, unfortunately, you might get some more Jeremy, I think, in there, but
no, I mean,
I agree.
I'm talking about like the community.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not talking about
I thought you meant like people off the street.
Oh,
okay,
no,
I got you.
No, real people.
Gotcha.
Our real people.
Anyway, from real people to dead people. What a horrible segue. We go into light years.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we're not editing that part out.
No, definitely not.
But for this song just being such a depressing kind of content, they made it feel really warm and special. It is a very special song, and it doesn't get its due live, and this is Binaural's appearance.
Yeah, totally agree. This is, God, the song is so great live. Does not get its due. I 100% agree with you.
It was like light years at this show is like the Marlins player that got nominated to the All-Star game. We just need everybody from every team, and hey, you're on the Marlins and you don't suck as bad as everybody else, so you're going.
PSA, this is not a baseball show.
How many times have we said that now? All right.
We're working on our spinoff, if anyone hasn't noticed.
That's Pearl Jam and You.
Yes.
Gonna See My Friend is up next, and another one that Thanos snapped to ashes. It's only been played twice since. It was played twice in 2010, which is like promoting Backspacer. Mm-hmm. A lot of these songs, Johnny Guitar, another one, they played at that Hartford show that we both went to in 2010. Yep. Gonna See My Friend, they ended a set with in 2010 in that same Hartford show. Only 3 times since then.
don't understand that either. The
Yeah.
show.
I don't get it. I do not get
It
it.
is such a rockin' opening album track. It's fast, it's furious.
It's such a great song.
Yeah.
And if they opened a show with this, how perfect would that be?
Yes.
I mean, that's like this should be. I don't understand why it's out of the rotation. It's such a great song.
Yeah, I actually have to say, for an album opener, I like it as a set closer. I like that idea. I think it's I think it's a song that could go in either spot.
It was awesome. Hartford 2010, it was a really cool show. They ended the set with this, and I had been listening to a lot of Backspacer at this time, and it did have like that really just raunch feeling. It got you really pumped for the encore.
Yeah.
So, Thanos, come on, bring it back. How do we get it back from the soul gem?
You got to ask Tony Stark.
Okay, so they do Worldwide Suicide is next, and you know how they sometimes do that little intro, like, and they hold it off for a little bit? You can hear Eddie in the background saying, "Who made the set list?"
Who made this set list?
It always perplexed me. I don't know if he's happy with it or like what. Like
It's
who made the set
different.
list? Like what's going on here? Yeah.
This set's different. It's almost a mess.
Yeah.
It's kind of perfect.
It's a beautiful mess.
Yeah.
311, beautiful disaster.
Oh, why'd you have to go there?
Worldwide Suicide, just another one they never play anymore.
Yep.
Sadly.
In hiding since 2014.
And
Bring it the frick back.
Especially in this day and age, as we watch the world burn around us,
Yep.
it would be perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
So next up, Ed says that this one is appropriate to this guy, and I will say that's a really good way to intro this, because what was happening when I was listening to this, I wasn't looking at the set list at the time, so I didn't know what was coming up in what order. So when Ed says this one's appropriate to this guy, and they go into Lowlight, I'm like, that's such a cool way to intro it.
Yeah.
And I wrote, my heart melts, heart eye emojis. Lowlight.
You know how I feel about Lowlight. I'm glad it is now a fixture because it's one of my all-time favorite songs. And I had mentioned to you, I had text both of you guys. I was like, Lowlight in this spot. But this is so weird. It must be before they found that sweet spot. And maybe that's true. Listening to the whole show from beginning to end, it fits. I hate to say it. I don't like it in this number 15 spot. It's a number 2 spot, but you know what? It sounds really fucking good, and it strangely does fit.
And to kind of just bring some of my experience again from being at the show back in, I have no idea if they planned it this way or not. It was obviously written on the set list in the spot, so it wasn't like they improv'd it. But I don't know if they like timed things out to be this way. But when they played the song, it was the sun was like just going down over the horizon.
Right.
And again, from that awesome stadium that we were in, the sky was just, when he said it's appropriate to the sky, it was like a Van Gogh painting. It was amazing.
It was the Lowlight.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
And then I said to Randy, because Berlin latitude is so much higher, that ambiance, that sky setting lasted almost the entire rest of the show. It was like that song somehow like flipped a switch, and it was just like until you got to the second encore, that was just how the show was, and you could just feel that song through the rest of the set. And it was magical. Like it's so corny, corny term, but it was really just a magical thing that happened.
We're gonna have to find a YouTube clip of this and post it, and that'll be a really good talking point. So.
Cool little factoid right there. I didn't know that, but that's. I just assumed the show started at like 1:00 in the afternoon. So,
from Lowlight into Comatose, and they start doing Comatose. Sounds like they go into da-na-na, da-na-na, and they just kind of like fade out. Like right before they get into the verse lyrics, they screw up.
Randy, can I interject real quick? I listened to it. Jeff started it in the wrong key. That's what it was.
Ooh.
Yeah, Jeff. That was
always avocado songs?
Because they don't fucking play him ever. I don't know. Could you imagine how like binaural, like in a tour next year? Do you know how bad those songs would probably sound because they just don't play them
Rival
anymore?
and God's Dice, yeah. Evacuation, jeez.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I listened to it a few times, and it sounded like everybody was on, and Jeff had started it in the wrong key. So,
but they go into like a jam afterwards, and I couldn't figure out what that was.
Yeah, it was a cool kind of blues little jam, and you know what? You could tell even as they're jamming on it, you could hear Jeff is still trying to find where to start, and he figures it out, and they do it. Yeah.
Someday we're going to dig deeper into this, but and because we have more to talk about, I don't want to waste too much time. But when this happens again, when they fuck up a song, I'm going to bring back the Les Claypool thing. So whenever somebody throws something on stage at Les Claypool, he stops dead in his tracks. He insults them for being a lowlife that works at McDonald's, and that's it. They end the song. It could be whatever song. It could be the rarest song they've ever played. Matt and I witnessed Jerry was a race car driver, and somebody threw a cup at him on stage. Yeah, they just stopped in their tracks, and he's like, some guy, some knucklehead that voted for George Bush is probably going to vote for him again. Because we're going to play that. We're not going to play it tonight. We're going to play that at some point whenever we do bump into this situation, but maybe Pearl Jam should think about if they screw up the beginning of the song, maybe they should just their losses and move on.
But then we would have missed a great version of Comatose.
This is true. This is true.
Now, what you're forgetting to mention, Randy, is not only do they stop the song, but they left the stage for a good 15 minutes. They walked up the stage. Yeah.
No, he just went to grab a bottle of wine. No, it wasn't too long.
They were off the stage for a while, longer than a band should be off the stage when you're performing a show. So now, with your idea on this with Pearl Jam, if someone messes up a song, should they just tell that member to get off the stage for a few minutes and just like cool down?
Jeff,
you got to go, man.
We're bringing in the backup bassist.
Stone's gonna play bass,
and we're just gonna do Smile.
Yeah,
perfect.
So Do the Evolution is gonna end the first set, which is a good first set ender, and it's gonna get you hyped for the next for the encore, and we're in the encore now.
Which we've said in different episodes that do the Evolution you could kind of put anywhere.
Pretty much, absolutely. Third song in this spot, other spots, it works.
Well, and like we said, what was it? Was it Fenway Night 2? We were supposed to get that like second encore. I wanted that so bad.
It was right before Alive, I believe, we were supposed to get it
because it works anywhere, and I am so upset that they did not do the Evolution second encore in Fenway Night 2 because. I think that would have been probably one for the ages, one for the books.
The Evolution was in the lead of times that I had heard the song, but now it's tied for Alive. So I think 18 out of 20 I've heard both Alive and The Evolution. So
nice.
I wish I could have heard it, so it could have been 19 just to cut a buck. Okay, encore time, and Ed says that he's a surfer. Duh. And he loves that wave shit. It makes him horny. And
this is when they did Big Wave.
Wrong. They did their avocado. They didn't do any more avocado, right?
Matt, someday we'll do the San Francisco Night 2 that I went to when they played Big Wave and Eddie crowd surfed, and it was pretty awesome.
Steve, you're not invited. You're not invited to do that
episode. So the wave shit makes him horny, which every time I read that, I am thinking of Soon Forget, where he says, whatever keeps him horny. Yeah. So anyway, it feels like they are still the opener. This is what Ed says. It feels like they're still the opener because they have a ton of night to go. And especially you said the sky.
It still felt like it was. I mean, I don't even know what time was at this point.
Was that solstice?
9:30. Yeah, it was close. It was June 30th. So it was only like 9 days after.
Yeah.
The higher latitude. So it was. I don't even know. Probably 9 o'clock or so at this point. And it felt like it was 5:30 in the evening. It was crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So he tells the crowd to stop beating the shit out of each other and mellow out because Now is not the night to do it.
Right.
Bad night to do it. He says, this is the most depressing song ever written, and he's not wrong. It's the end. And I think a lot during this tour, they were starting their encore with the end and going into Just Breathe, because those are really the cool downs, and that's what they do here.
Can I say something about that?
Sure.
I think I like it better in these encores when it's not just Ed coming out to play, because I like to see the full band, and I like it when they start an encore slower, but I like what they do with songs acoustically or cover songs, whatever.
Like Thumbing My Way, which they did.
Yeah, exactly. Like when it's like a full band. But then they all come on for Just Breathe, which was a big wedding song a few years ago. I did that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of went back and I listened to it again. And the end and Just Breathe went together so well, especially going into the next song, that I almost didn't mind that it was just Eddie by himself. It's not what I prefer, but it was done so well, and the transitions were so smooth. Yeah.
No, I'm not a big fan of Eddie coming out solo. I
haven't heard that one before.
With this, they just pulled it off really well. I think it was.
Yeah, absolutely,
right.
Absolutely. No, I was just agreeing. In general,
right.
I prefer when the band comes out.
So after Just Breathe, he says that was a love song, but the next one is a love song too. Not with a dog, not with a human, but with a record. It's Spin the Black Circle. Just kick ass.
Kick ass.
Love it.
Not much more to say about the song. It's amazing in general, amazing live. Yeah, awesome.
This one in particular, I thought they might die while playing it. It's an insane performance.
So they go from Black Circle into Public Image, and it's the first time they've ever played Public Image, so let's give it a listen.
Hello! Hello! Hello!
Public Image, this is the first time they've ever played it. Only 9 times played, and that's including PJ20. And was this a surprise, or?
This was definitely a surprise. And it was also, again, another just a great song, influential song. I think for anybody who listened to this, this era of music, and he dedicates it. I think he calls him Uncle Johnny, right? Johnny
like
Lydon,
yeah.
Which is just awesome. Another a great example of a band with a song and album who's the name of the band, which I love.
What's the other one like? There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, there was for a while that was like just the
Bad Company.
Bad Company.
Bad Company.
Yep.
Yeah. I was just like, that was like the thing to do for a while, I guess. but it's so great, and they just nail it too. This version of this song is just so great.
Fits in well in the set.
It absolutely does.
Yeah, I really have no opinion on it besides it's great here.
And next they go into their Backspacer single. It's The Fixer, and my notes here are, yeah, gonna hear the song again, because we've covered it like 5 times already. Yeah, blah, blah.
You take it over Got Some every time, right?
Yes. I mean, I like Fixer better than Got Some, of course.
But another great song. I can't believe you're disparaging in any way.
I'm not really disparaging it. It's we've covered it so much already.
For you guys, I'm sure. Yeah.
The next episode will not have either Fixer, nor I think it will have Got Some. I don't think it's going to have Got Some. So that's right. We're in a good spot.
Nice.
Okay, ready? This is your favorite part. Ed introduces Peter Buck and Scott McCoy from REM.
So real quick, I didn't know if I was going to be able to send. I hadn't tried to send any texts from Germany while I was there.
Okay.
Right as Public Image was wrapping up, I'm looking at the stage and I'm trying to take pictures with my phone and send them to Matt and ask, Matt, is that Mike Mills on the side of the stage? And yes, it was. Apparently, everybody except Michael Stipe had come out to see the show.
Mike Mills was there.
Mike
played
Mills
with them.
No, Mike Mills did not. He did not play. But
That
he
doesn't
was,
surprise me.
But he was chilling. He was chilling on the side of the stage because he was just hanging out, like sitting on one of the speakers watching the show. Apparently, Peter Buck and Scott McCoy were getting, geared up, ready to come out. But Mike Mills was just sitting there, hanging out. And I was like, I've got to be seeing things. Like, I can't. Like, why would Mike Mills be there? And then
he's such a prominent face. You can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Exactly. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, you can't mistake him.
Peter Buck's like one of my favorite members of it. He seems just like such a chill guy.
Yeah.
It's
and now he's touring with Joseph Arthur.
Yeah, Arthur Buck. Yeah,
Arthur Buck.
I just got the LP. I haven't listened to it yet, though.
Yeah, and Joseph Arthur, of course, played with Pearl Jam at PJ20, and he played with Jeff in Random. Yeah, it's strange how worlds collide. See how I brought that together with Neil Peart reference too?
Yeah.
See? All right, sorry.
Hey guys, is it time?
It's time.
It's time.
It is time.
It's time.
It is time.
It's time.
It is time to kick out the jams, motherfucker!
Anytime they have guests that are multiple guests like this, like they did in Seattle with Kim and Mark Arm and all those guys, they're gonna do kick out the jams, motherfucker.
Yeah,
So.
and this is one of my favorite covers of theirs as well. I just love MC5, and it's just, oh my god, it's awesome when they do it whenever, and then to see them do it with Peter Buck was just like, oh my god, this is awesome.
How many different bands have covered this? Because Presidents of the United States.
I don't even. Yeah.
Who else did it? Rage Against the Machine did it.
I think they did. Yeah.
And there's got to be one other band that did
I'm
it.
sure.
But it's like one of the most covered rock songs outside of All Along the Watchtower. You know?
Yeah.
It's just one of those that it's just such an influential. It's really, to me, it's the kickoff of the punk industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really is.
And this is just real quick. This is another reason why I wanted to do. I didn't want to say it in the beginning and spoil it, but this is another reason why I wanted to do this show specifically for my first show, Matt, because on the first episode of this, we talked about REM being such a big influence on us growing up, and to see them play with Pearl Jam was just like, man,
bucket list, check,
unbelievable. Yeah.
When they were playing the song, were you yelling at Mike Mills to get the fuck out there and play, or what?
Yeah, I was like, dude, what are you doing?
Probably had a cold.
Randy, another prominent cover of it. Apparently, Jeff Buckley does a cover of it, and Prophets of Rage, they've been doing it, and they'll bring out Dave Grohl to play it with them. So that's probably boring as fuck. But whatever.
Dave Grohl plays with everybody. I'm friends with Paul McCartney. You know that. I play with him all the time.
We're best friends. We're best bros.
He was in the Beatles.
Lindsey Buckingham is my neighbor, so who's your neighbor?
Jesus.
Rock and roll. All right, that brings us to encore number 2. Ed is out there. He's thanking the crowd. He says it's one of those nights where they could use the energy, and the crowd really brought it tonight, and that's really a lot of this is what you have been saying all along. He thanks Ben Harper and the Relentless Seven for opening, and he thanks the geniuses of REM, and then he wants to do experimental filming on the next song, which I YouTubed, and it was weird. It was just like,
so it's a guy. I think his name was Kevin, if I remember correctly. came out and they recorded it on a MacBook Pro or a MacBook.
Yeah, he's just holding it up to his head.
Oh,
He's just holding up a MacBook. Yeah.
that's what it was. Because
Yeah,
it was
so it
just like Eddie the whole time, and it was in slow motion.
Yeah, it was pretty weird, but you can check it out on YouTube. If nothing else, the quality of the song is awesome.
I thought maybe the whole point of it was to like splice that footage into like a music video or something. But that's not what happened, right? It's just
right.
Okay, all right.
If they were to do a music video for the song, it's unthought known, by the way. If they were to do a music video for the song, it would the sky would just have to be blanketed with gems and rhinestones the whole time. I mean, it's such a beautiful song.
Yeah, I always had this thought about it, but it became very obvious listening to this show was that I was never the biggest fan of it on the album. I would listen to it, but it wasn't my go-to. Might be in my top 5 favorite live Pearl Jam songs, though. It is
grows on you.
Oh, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely grows on you.
Yeah.
It's my fiance's favorite song. So
unbelievably great.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna change the tone a little bit because this is really where we get into the heavy part of the set and really what makes this show special and what this makes show so memorable and emotional. They go into black. Now, I'm not sure if I'm right on this, but it feels like during the intro you hear some hesitation within the performance, like they're really nervous in playing it. They know that this is a special moment. Did you feel that?
Yeah. So I don't know how much all of this stuff connected and how much the band themselves knew what was going to happen. But before the show, and again, this kind of goes back to what I was talking about with like the things that you only get at a Pearl Jam show that you wouldn't get anywhere else. Before the show started, when we were all just hanging out outside the venue, waiting to be able to line up to get in, there was a group. I don't know if it was like a wish list group or who exactly had put it together, but somebody was going around handing out like flyers, or I guess for lack of a better term, little pieces of paper that were saying, when they play Black tonight. It's the 10-year anniversary. This is the song that we're really going to show our support for the band. So everybody sing, everybody take out your phones. Randy, again, the synergy here is great because you mentioned the Fireflies. And
I like you remember the term.
He's got the podcast terminology down here.
They were actually, it was a concerted effort to make sure that everybody was involved. I actually looked for it last night. I tried to get video of it. It didn't come out really well at all. I've never seen a show where every single person had their phone out. There was nobody who didn't have a phone or a lighter out at the show. And I don't know if the band knew that was coming and that had something to do with their hesitation or whatever, but you definitely knew that Black tonight was going to be different than previous performances.
I don't think it was a thing of them being nervous. The whole show is very emotionally charged. You could tell them they're playing and you could tell them the crowd, and they know that. I think this was more emotional playing. I don't think it was nerves. I think it was more they were just...
Yeah,
they're starting it off, and they're not dragging it, but they're just putting everything they have into it.
Nervous probably isn't the right term, but like the butterflies in your stomach that amped up. Yeah.
Yes,
they're putting it all out there. Is what's going on. Yeah,
right. And you know what? It just brings to what made this performance of Black so absolutely special.
Could be one of the best Black performances ever.
Which is saying a lot because there's so many times that you can go back to the song and say, well, they played it then and it blew people away.
But you look at the audience participation on this one, you look at the time, you look at the place, you look at this, you look at that. It's got a lot of things going for it.
Yeah, let's play towards the end of the song. Eddie starts to come up with some lyrics. I don't know if they're off the top of his head or if he wrote them down earlier, but the crowd is just, like you said, they have the Fireflies and they have the lighters, and here he's bringing up some lyrics where the "We Belong Together" part would come in. So let's listen and really take in what they're doing here. Was he crying during this? Was he like, how emotional was it?
I couldn't tell if he was crying, honestly, but I could tell you everybody around us, myself included, definitely was. It was it was a tough thing, but again, that support of the crowd. Way back in the day, I don't know if anybody even uses the term jamily anymore for the Pearl Jam,
they do.
but you definitely felt that. That was old school, and you felt that connection. That I don't know if it's still around in quite the same way as it was back in the beginning, but we really felt like we were there for the band, which was sort of what we were trying to do, I think, and for each other. This was a general admission show. The way I described the stadium before, like you couldn't have assigned seats at this place. You'd have to, revamp the entire stadium. So it was like taking the seats out of MSG or something even larger than that, and just letting people go, sit wherever they want and whatever. But there was never a moment where I was all the way up against the rail. So I would have, if there was a push or a crush, I definitely would have felt it. And there was nothing like that in the entire night. And I think it was because we knew, what we were being a part of. It was a really emotional, really, I feel like everybody felt really bonded to each other at this point.
This is what sets this apart. This is why we do this. This is what sets us apart from being a hobby to being a family member, or like feeling like this is part of you.
Right.
Baseball is a hobby. Things are hobbies to people. This is why we've gotten into this. We've realized we have such a strong connection with the band. We have such a strong connection with its fans, because I don't live next door to Pearl Jam fans. You don't see them often. So when you go to these shows and you feel like you can start a conversation by saying, hey, what do you think they're going to open and close with? That's like, you're already building a bond with somebody. And even if you never get their name and you never see them again, you feel connected, and you feel everybody's heart is in the same place.
Yeah, you have so much in common, and you have opinions, and you've probably both seen a bunch of shows, and you both like different things. And who knows, maybe you could even convince somebody what you think, or they can convince you, and it's so much fun.
After they finish up on Black, Ed is getting emotional speaking. I want to play a little part in this because he thanks the crowd for helping out, and the crowd goes back into the do-do-do-do-do, and it's goosebumps. It's chilling that they do this. So let's play that as much as we can. We're not going to play the whole speech, but let's just hear the crowd and Eddie kind of reacting.
After seeing something that beautiful, what you just laid out before us there, it's and thank you for that. Thank you. So we get to experience this now, and it. It's hard to explain to people what it must feel like to be up here and be on the receiving end of that. And And then we were 10. Let me try to do this. So 10 years ago in Denmark today, it was 10 years ago today, it was a completely different experience, and it was it continues to be the hardest day in our lives, and everyone who was there agrees. And it's not like we're thinking about it anymore today, because it's really something we've thought about every day. And we just want to... But we bring it up today, and we ask that the families and the friends of those who lost loved ones that day allow us to send our love to them and our support and our thoughts, and we're very, very extremely grateful for the families that we've gotten to know through this experience, and somehow learn to get through it together, and somehow even learn things about ourselves and about the appreciation that we now have for life that maybe we didn't quite understand completely before. So this is to the families. We thank you, and we send our love from the band and the crew. And Stone's suggestion, I think it's appropriate that maybe we just have a moment of silence in their honor, and we thank you for that.
So, I mean,
Yeah, it was that was definitely an interesting thing to be a part of, and it was rough because it felt like everybody was trying to find a balance of we wanted to be supportive of the band, but Eddie was trying to get through this speech, and then everybody started singing again, and it kind of felt like we were going to put him over the edge. You know what I mean? Like, not that there's anything wrong with crying in public or anything along those lines, but
he's a proud human being,
right? Exactly, and he was trying to say something to us, and the group was so the group of, when I say the group, I mean the group of fans, was so intent on being supportive. It was.
You weren't done yet.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
There's so much more love to give.
I saw that as almost like a pat on the back, like you could do it type thing.
Yeah, exactly right.
Of course. We're with you 100%. We love you. He talks a little bit more about the experience of seeing all that happen that day. We don't, it's so depressing. We just don't have to get into that much, because we know the story, and we know how much it's touched people, and everything is emotional here. And the moment of silence here, and they go from the moment of silence into this, and if you just want to start bawling like a baby, you have free reign.
If I keep holding on, will the light shine through under this broken roof? It's only rain that I feel. I've been wishing out the days. Oh, come back. And I keep holding out. Will the light on? So you had to go. No, I had to remain here. I've been wishing out the day.
perfect of an intro into that song and placement for the song. This wasn't even in the set originally. You couldn't get more of a powerful song.
No, the song itself speaks for itself as what it is, and I mean, there's really not much you can say about it here. It's just again, everybody in the crowd was singing along and trying to put out those vibes for the band to show that we were there supporting them. It was really something.
And Randy, you know how I like my encore twos, and normally something like Black and Come Back to back like that wouldn't be my favorite thing, but here it is completely appropriate. Two of the best performances of the entire night back to back.
Yeah,
incredible.
We're gonna do a show next week with another really emotional comeback, and I'm gonna talk about that. And I don't know how you can play this song. You can't just say, "Okay, we're gonna do Comeback."
Right.
You have to attribute it to something, and to do it like this was.
It's placed there for a very specific reason. It's done for a specific reason, and it's perfect.
So then, Alive and Ledbetter with Little Wing, and that's your show.
Yeah. So real quick, I did just want to talk about those real fast. Alive, the version of Alive after Comeback, man, those two back to back. Alive to me on the album is sort of like, oh, I'm still alive. Why am I still alive?
Yeah.
And then it kind of morphed over the years into we're still alive, like
A positive.
screw you, everybody else.
Yeah.
We're still doing what we're doing, and we're still alive. And then this night was some sort of hybrid of the two, where we've made it, we're going to continue on, but at the same time, we recognize that we're still alive and these other people aren't. And it's just, man, oh man, that was
After something like this in this last encore, this was probably like the best Alive you've ever seen.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it could have been. Yeah, for sure.
Has to be.
Yeah. If it had gone just from that into Ledbetter, it would have been an ending to the show that I feel like I would have left the stadium almost confused. On one hand, seeing just one of the best shows, Pearl Jam shows, that I've ever been to. You've had these two relative, Alive is definitely an upbeat tempo song, but the ending of the encore was 4 songs that are not necessarily the most positive, uplifting songs. They're no Johnny Guitar, right? Like, you know what I mean?
There was no Rockin' or Baba during in between.
Right. Exactly. So the thing that helped me leave the show on this absolute high note was something that I'm going to send a picture to you guys. I'm going to put it on your Facebook page.
Okay.
A member of the band, not a member of the band, but a member of the band's crew, this woman who I don't know who she was, honestly, but she came out, apparently, Pearl Jam has a rat, hand puppet.
Does it eat? Does it sleep?
It does. No, it does not. It does not. It's not a real rat. It's a puppet. His name is RJ. And at every show, they bring RJ out to pose with a group that's in the front row, and they take a picture of it, and they have a picture of RJ with a group of fans at every show that they've ever done. And me and the group of friends that I made were the group that posed with RJ.
Oh, wow.
At this show.
That's so cool.
I wonder why they don't put that on their Instagram or on their Facebook. They Instagram their set lists and all that stuff. That's
unless this woman was just completely screwing with me, which is distinctly possible because I have no idea who she was. But she came out, and again, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show was because of the people that I met at this show. I met incredible people. Pamela and James, Lorraine and Matt are the ones that I've kind of stayed in contact with. There was another couple who, unfortunately, I lost their contact information after the show, so I never spoke to them again. But it's a really, really cool shot of our little group that we had been with that whole night. And RJ.
And you have the picture?
I have the picture. I'll put it on your guys' Facebook page.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to save that for you guys. I didn't let you guys know it was coming, but
if any of the listeners out there know anything about the RJ pictures, who this woman might be, let us know on our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or email us, because now I'm really interested.
Maybe we can figure out, we can create like the RJ Club.
Yeah.
And we can make like a big mosaic picture or something.
Something like, yeah.
That experience kind of took this weight of the last 4 songs of the show off of our shoulders a little bit and let us sort of breathe in a way that I think we hadn't since before they started to play Black.
If you're out there and you've gotten an RJ picture, email us, let us know, post on our Facebook, something like we want to know more about RJ and dig into it. Let's get into some cross-offs for tonight. Rearview Mirror was slated to end the first encore, but replaced by Kick Out the Jams, which was originally supposed to be in the second encore. A lot of moving around in the second encore here because of the tribute. Once was supposed to be in there, replaced by Comeback. Footsteps was supposed to be in there, that was crossed off, which I think still could have worked, probably before Black. Then we can't figure out what's in parentheses. It might be the end. It might be something else.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, so
I'm positive it's not the end just because of the end's placement on top of the page. I don't think they would have written it that way. So I think we could cross that one off too. But Steve, I thought you had a
what
theory on what
around the bend, maybe?
Around the bend, it could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Very strange.
Yeah, and then Rock and Roll Star, which would have been weird.
Yeah.
That would have been the Baba, rockin' spot, which that would have been a little strange to have that there. I think everything was in its place. I think they made the right changes.
Yeah.
I think they did the right thing.
Absolutely.
So, all right, guys. Out of how many stickmen would you give this show? We'll start with you, Steve.
So we do it out of 10, right?
Yeah.
If I were to rate the entire experience, like I said, this has got to be a 9.5. The show itself, if you take the show just in a vacuum, it's probably like an 8.5. But when you put everything together, again, especially the people that I met and the time being in Berlin, which is now my absolute favorite city in the world, this has got to be 9.5. I know Matt is opposed to giving things 10 out of 10, this is, if I was going to give anything a 10, this would probably be it.
Okay, Matt, you're not giving this a 10, obviously.
No, this is 8.5. Don't even have to think about it. I don't even have anything to explain about it. It is one that I wish I had been to. I love it. I love everything about it. Even things I don't like about it, I love. So 8.5.
I'm giving it an 8. I love it. It's so emotional, and I think I've decided that 8.5 was going to be the plateau for shows that I've never been to, just to make it interesting. And there'll be lots of 8s and lots of 8.5s and lots of 7s and things like that. But yeah, I mean, if I wasn't doing it, it would be in the 9 territory if I wasn't trying to judge stuff based off of that. This is one for the ages. You're not going to get that kind of emotion again unless in 2 years they're doing another show on this date.
Right.
So, all right, you have a story from your friend Pamela that you mentioned before.
So I spoke to Pamela and James. Unfortunately, Lorraine did not get back to me. So hopefully she's still out there doing well. I didn't hear back from her, but hopefully she's still doing great. But I did speak to Pamela and to James, and they both brought up something that I had totally forgotten about, which was the trip to Berlin was, let's just say, not cheap, even though I was working at the time. So between the tickets, of course, I bought 10 club tickets, so I had to pay for 2 tickets, even though I only used one. I tried to sell the other one and couldn't do it. So all of that stuff that made the trip very expensive, and I decided, no, I'm not gonna buy any sort of merch or anything. Would it be responsible? And that responsible is already out the window, but I'm going to try to rein it in a little bit. I'm not going to buy any merch. And then one thing we have not talked about somehow, I don't know how we skipped this, but we did not talk about the poster for this show.
Oh, I was going to mention it before. It's an elephant.
I don't know exactly what it has to do with Berlin or the show specifically, but the poster is...
Sometimes I have no idea what the hell their posters are supposed to do with what the hell they're doing. Sometimes it doesn't at all.
You would think Berlin, you would have a bear, or I don't know, but it was the elephant, the half elephant face, and whatever they decided to do it, it was beautiful. So I was like, I have to have that poster.
It's the lengthy
it's a
one.
long,
though.
yeah.
You can't find those in Michael's,
right?
If you're cheap,
you've got to have it professionally done. That's why mine's still rolled up. Yeah. So I right after Ben Harper was done, I went to get online, and I was gonna get a poster. And Matt, who I just mentioned, having met Lorraine's friend. Forgive me, I haven't talked to Lorraine in a long time. I think they might have been fiancés, possibly married now, but I could be completely wrong about that. So I apologize if I'm screwing that up. But he was like, he didn't want to lose the spot in the front. So he goes, I'm going to give you money. Can you get me a t-shirt? I said, absolutely, no problem. So I went and got online, and apparently everybody had the same idea as I did. The line was so long. And apparently Matt had expressed some concern to the rest of the group that I had just taken his $35 and hightailed it out of there.
That is hilarious. Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah, so there was like some conversation, I guess, like should he come look for me or or what? I know I got the poster, I got Matt's t-shirt, and then made it back in time for the first song, but just made it back in time for Long Road. It was I cut it pretty close if I remember correctly, so it was definitely a good time and something that I'd forgotten about. And it's cool because I kept in touch with at least 4 of the 6 of those people, even after the show was done. So yeah, very cool stuff. Real quick, actually, Pamela, I promised her I'd plug her show.
Okay, go ahead, please.
She's on the radio in Ireland. It's on 9 p.m. Ireland time. I believe it's Flirt FM is the call letters there. The name of her show is actually Bad Radio for you Eddie Vedder fans.
Yep.
And it's 9 p.m. Ireland time, so it's like, I don't even know what time it is here. It's in the middle of the afternoon. I actually used to listen to her radio show quite a bit when I worked from home. So it's definitely cool. Check it out. She plays a lot of great music. So.
Shout out.
You can definitely listen to it online. It's good stuff.
Cool. Here's a story. We mentioned Warren before, and we have another story from Warren about this show. So he's kind of on the European tour circuit, and there's two stories here. So he loved the moment of silence. He thought it was intense, and the crowd were able to pull it off, as usual. Pretty boisterous Berlin atmosphere. Eddie talking about how, although it was the 10-year anniversary, they weren't thinking about it more because they thought about it every day. He was in tears, held it together right before playing Comeback. That was like nothing I've ever experienced in the 33 shows I've been to. The crowd was tough up front, so we sat over to the side. It's all GA and a special venue in the woods. Really beautiful, glorious afternoon, as I can recall, and Mike came out in sunglasses. So that's story 1 from him. So story 2, the night before, he done something special. And we've seen this on Pearl Jam shows before and talked about this on our show.
Yes, we did.
I was going to get engaged to my wife at the show, but I decided to do it the night before because then it would have its own moment and add happiness for the show. The night I first went to my future wife's house in 2007 as a friend, she put on the Avocado album, and I had been into PJ since 92 and found out she had been too. And right there, like, that's yeah, right.
Puts on Avocado. Oh man, should have married her right there.
He said, I knew then it was love. So by the time of Berlin, we'd been together since December of 2007, had a 4-month-old, and we had done a few shows together: Shepherd's Bush, Rotterdam, Manchester, London, Dublin, and Belfast. Up to this show, we had met her German mother and sister in Berlin the night before the show. They knew I was going to propose, and I took the ring through customs, which, how do you hide that? His wife was highly suspicious.
There's some places you could hide it, but I hear it's very uncomfortable.
Okay, exactly.
I'm sorry, Warren.
His wife was highly suspicious of what he was actually up to, and they looked after our 4-month-old daughter while I proposed by a lake in the woods. She cried for joy, as I did. I did ask for a shout out as well in advance through the forum, but unlike my recent fatal request, there was no luck. So we planned around a trip, which was about the show. I'd never been to Germany before that time. That was a really nice story. Pearl Jam engagements are always, they're so teary-eyed and so beautiful. Almost as beautiful as this public service announcement, as Eddie would say. This is a public service announcement.
Randy, do you want me to cue the music?
Live on Four Legs is happy to present a weekly podcast dedicated to the Pearl Jam live experience. While we try to get ourselves to as many shows as possible, we have only attended a small fraction compared to the entire live history. That's why we need your help. We want to get to know who you are. If there's a live show that you've attended that you'd like to see us cover in our program, please send us an email at liveonfourlegs, that's the number 4, liveonfourlegspodcast@gmail.com. We want to know your entire live experience. Did you once miss a flight? Get lucky in the 10 Club lottery? Catch a white whale? Your stories will help us mold this into the best podcast it could possibly be. You're already getting to know who we are. Now it's time for us to know who you are.
So that about covers our show today. Reminder, our merch store is going to be open until October 15th, and we'll pepper Facebook with it, and we'll do some videos and all that.
Do you want to give them that address one more time?
Absolutely. lo4loctober.itemorder.com. We ship domestically, internationally, have 3 different designs for shirts: a severed hand, long sleeve, and hoodie. A State of Love and Trust Illinois shirt that comes in Cubs colors, as well as dark gray and purple, and a Live on Four Legs ringer tee and ladies V-neck. So lots of stuff there. If you're into the podcast, this is the first merchandise. So hopefully we get popular a year from now, and if you wear these to shows, people are like, when they put this out, oh, I'm the first person to buy this.
I got one of the first runs.
I got it for free before they even did a show. So, Steve, thank you for doing this. This is not the last time, but it is the first, and I think...
I hope it's not the last. Hopefully I pulled my weight. I really appreciate...
It's not the last time this month. We have plans.
I really appreciate you guys having me on.
This is a busy month.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, I spend about 85 to 90% of my time talking to a 3.5 and 3.5-year-old and a 10-month-old. So being able to talk to people that can actually talk back about Pearl Jam is a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys will have me back again. I really appreciate it, man. This is awesome.
By the way, Steve, how is my nephew and my niece?
They're doing exceptionally well.
All right, well, I'll make a trip up soon to see them.
Next episode is going to be next week, obviously. And it's going to be on Memphis 2014, which is not the most memorable show, but like we did the show today, it's memorable to Steve. It has meaning to Steve. This one has meaning to me. I feel like because it's the 4 or 5 year anniversary of it, I feel like it's a good time to tell the story. So we're going to do that, and the next time we're going to see Steve, it'll be for something spooky. Ooh. And then the next tease for the future, and then after we do something spooky, we'll have you back on the week after. We'll do something political.
Sounds awesome.
So
the political right now is a little spooky, so
you're telling me. This is the end, but not for much longer, and we'll be back next week. I'll miss you already, and I miss you all day, and I hope you enjoy this episode. For Randy Sobel, Matt Helbig, and Stephen Maytan, the 5th and 6th leg, we thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.